The anti-globalist Iranians who are fighting against the Islamic occupation are getting ready to prepare a transitional government led by their chosen opposition leader, the Crown Prince in exile. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. A quick update on the Iranian uprising. It's been going on for a few months now. The ups and downs, there's still clashes happening. People doing their own strike, general strike across the country. The regime, the Islamic regime, are getting weaker every day. And of course, there are various groups who are getting ready for the inevitable fall, which will be continued by creating a situation where a referendum will be held to create a democratic Iran without the support or intervention from foreign forces or the globalist elites. And that is one of the main priorities for them. And obviously, not everybody, but the majority of a lot of Iranians have now declared their interest in having the Crown Prince, the son of the last Shah, as their main opposition leader. It doesn't mean that he's going to be king in that sense, because he actually hasn't really. He said, I don't want to be in government. I don't want to be a leader. And he simply wants to just be the opposition leader for now, be the advocate for freedom and democracy, and to ensure that this uprising, this revolution is not being hijacked by any group, whether it's the Western globalists, whether it's the other nutters on the other side, in the Middle East. And this is quite important. So he was interviewed by Sky News. Let's go to a couple of clips of what Reza Pahlavi said in this interview.
Gain support for this revolution and the World Committee to come in support of it, so we can finally bring this regime to its knees by ultimately perhaps well-organized across the country labor strikes. That would be the quickest way to paralyze the system and force it to an implosion, with a scenario of transition that involves an interim government that will, of course, manage the country's affairs in the meantime, and the preparation of the elections of the Constituent Assembly, where all the issues, including the regime's future form, the Constitution itself, all the principles adopted in it, will be proposed to the nation for a final referendum that will determine the ultimate future of Iran and its political formation, the election of the first parliament of that new democracy.
And I think that's one of the important points, because he's starting his tour, essentially, for diplomatic talks, especially with all the other opposition groups and all the other leaders inside Iran and outside of the country as well. And one of the priorities, as I said, is that these people don't want the Iranian revolution to be hijacked, especially by globalists, especially by those who have their own interests, obviously. They've learned from history, especially a country like Iran has always been a target for any sort of invasion, or people just going in to take advantage of their natural resources, or they're just geographically where it is based. He also mentioned in the second part of the interview this.
Forgive me, would you go back to stand in those elections?
I'm not running for any office, nor do I seek any political position in the apparatus of state. I'd rather be an advocate for the people and stand by their side vis-a-vis the authorities to make sure that their rights are always going to be observed. I don't have any ambitions for powers or authority. I think my experience being at age 62 and having lived in the free world are bringing all the values that can be established in Iran, and to build institutions that will be the most important safeguards so we don't deviate for the democratic path, make sure transparency would be there to keep for the country to have concentration of power or potential of having corruption rise again. Right. These are very important issues. But at this point in time, in this transition period, in this moment of the campaign, as always, I've extended my hand of cooperation with any democratic-seeking Iranian, regardless of their political aspirations, left, right, or center. So together, at this point, we speak in unity with a unified voice, right, which is the first ask and expectation of our combatants at home, whether they are political activists, prisoners, or what have you. And that's exactly what I'm doing at this time talking to you.
Right.
And I think it's quite good to see that their focus is to ensure the return of the Persian constitution for all Iranians, from the Persian Iranians, the Turkish Iranians, the Kurdish Iranians, all groups that exist in that country. And it is in our British interest to make sure that, firstly, we don't do any foreign intervention. That's a bad idea. And Iranians, as you can see, they don't want that. And because the regime right now itself is supported by foreign forces anyway, but it's time to get the international interventionists to get out of the country. It is good that the focus is to sort out the constitution, sort out the parliamentary democracy, and we could actually see a bit of peace maybe, finally, in the Middle East. Iran goes, the Iranian regime goes, you will get Hamas and Hezbollah being defunded by default, and you're going to have a situation where you can actually see the Arab world who are not too happy about Iranians becoming free and democratic, but you can start doing business with them in a normal sense. Right now, we are putting Saudi Arabia and Iran up against each other, and this division is not really healthy, not just for the people in the Middle East, but for us. You can see what's been going on for the past 20 years with all the Islamist attacks and everything else in the West. We have to fight against it, but you have to allow people in Iran to make their own decisions for their own future. Let me know what you think. I'm Mahyar, Tousi, and we are the media.